Hello and good morning and happy Thursday. We're a new streaming network, WGSN-DB, going solo network radio. Welcome to your Health Vibes with Elana. I'm Elana, a wellness empowerment coach, and today my journey is to raise your heart, body, and soul vibes to the next level so you can transform your life today. And today, our topic is Empowered to Thrive with the one, the only Christina. Come on down.
Hi, Elena. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
I am so happy that you are here today and really excited for this conversation. So, I would love to kind of start off because I know about you, but I want the world to kind of know your story. Would you mind kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and your story?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. This is just a ton of fun. So, a great way to wrap up 2025. So, super excited to be here. But as you said, my name is Christina Rollins. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I currently practice in the state of Illinois. So, yay, Central Illinois. We're past our snowstorm, knock on wood. And now we're back into our muddy season, but we're living our best life here in Illinois. So, I have been a dietitian for about 20 years. Spent the bulk of my career working in acute care, so the hospital setting, really focused on helping patients who were critically ill. And I also spent about 10 years working in a regional burn center. So when somebody asks me, like, what do I do for a living? That's my heart. I'm a clinical dietitian, and the favorite job I've ever had is working on the burn unit. Those patients are so injured and need so much help and support from healthcare clinicians. I really felt like I was making a difference each and every day. I don't currently do that, though. Since then, I have transitioned into hospital and healthcare administration. So I spent a few years as a vice president of a community-based hospital, and I currently serve full-time as a finance and business administrator for a surgical practice located here in Central Illinois. So very different than my days on the burn unit. But the fun thing is that when you're burned or critically ill, you have a lot of really amazing physicians that care for you. So now I'm working on the other side. I'm actually helping to manage those physician practices. So still connected to the patient, but different. And then on the side, in my side gig world, I have a lot of different projects going on. So I serve as a fractional chief operating officer for a new health tech startup called FU Cancer.
Yeah.
That company is near and dear to my heart. My husband is a cancer survivor. He was diagnosed with stage 3 metastatic testicular cancer at a pretty young age. It was actually shortly before we got married. He went through cancer treatment. So cancer really has been a part of my entire adult life. And I just love the opportunity now with this new company to give back and help other individuals who are experiencing cancer. And then kind of my last little fun thing that I do is I host a couple of podcasts. So you may have seen me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but again, just connecting with really amazing people and talking about the great work that they're doing. So that really is my passion.
I love that so much. What I really love is how heart-centered you are and how you show up for others. And that is what's so special because it's not, you want to make a difference. And in all these things, it's just so beautiful because that doesn't always happen, And with all this and having these personal experiences, have you always been like this? When you were little, did you feel this? And, also with nutrition and things, is that always something, or is that something new or something that you've always followed as a little girl?
Yeah, I think, nutrition and health and wellness and kind of that urge to be a healthier person has always been with me ingrained. I've got a lot of personal stories that we could talk about. But I think, good nutrition and a balanced diet has always been a part of who I am. Very interesting. When I went to college, I actually went to college because I wanted to be an accountant. And then when I started learning about what that was, I was like, oh gosh, like I don't want to just work with numbers. I want to work with people. And dietetics is kind of a meshing of those two worlds because it's very math and science focused, but you've got a person at the end of every calculation that you're doing. So I loved that. And that's kind of what's led me to today. But honestly, as a little kid, I don't know that I really knew. I think at one point I wanted to be a doctor. I always gravitated toward healthcare, but I think people always was kind of in the center of everything that I wanted to do.
Definitely. I love to hear that. And with that and showing up for, people really wanting to get healthy and start this journey, you have so many great resources and things like that. Is there any like a few little nuggets that you could tell, or, maybe your journey of how, you want to show up for your body and how that happens, and maybe some things that you could talk about?
Yeah. So I've always been a very realistic dietitian. And, 20 years ago, I think the culture has shifted now, but 20 years ago, people really looked at dietitians as like, they wanted that structure and give me a list of foods that I can't eat. And that's just what I'm going to do with my life. And I hated that. Like, that would cringe. And I would actually refuse to give patients any food lists like that, because in my perspective and my experiences was, if somebody gave me a list of things I couldn't eat, you just gave me a list of things that I was craving all the time, right? So I didn't want to put that burden onto another patient. So we always focused on, well, what do you like to eat? What's your day look like now? And how can we make some reasonable changes to move you to a healthier position, right? So I think in my experiences, I've been a yo-yo dieter really my whole life since childhood. I will say I do take a GLP-1. I've lost almost 100 pounds in the past year and a half. I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
I know. And I think with this culture shift, it's really become, it's acceptable to talk about, right? Because it is a metabolic condition and people need help. And it's not just a list of foods on a piece of paper, right? We need comprehensive medical care to manage these kinds of things.
Definitely. I don't know if you want to dig a little bit deeper into that journey, because I think it is amazing. Being honest, being real. And that's what I love about you, like telling your story, and we can help so many others. And that's why I feel this is so perfect. You're empowered to thrive. What made you feel that empowered and thrive? Hi, Ellen. Good morning. Hi. Thank you for joining. But would love to hear a little bit more, because people are so afraid to say what they're doing or be judged. And what made you feel like, I don't care what anybody says, like I'm going to show up for myself and I want to share that story. I think it's so beautiful. So I don't know if you want to dig a little bit deeper and maybe share a little bit more.
Yeah. I think at the root of it, it's my family. It's my children. I'm a mom of two. I have a 13-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. And I want to be around and I want to be healthy when they're in college, when they're getting married, when they're raising their own children or doing whatever amazing things. People say like, oh, your kids are so much like you. And I say, no, they're so much better than me. Like, I wish I was as smart, and as awesome as they are. Right. But I want to be around and I want to experience everything. And I really hit a wall a couple of years ago. Prior to my current position, I was in a couple of pretty stressful jobs that were just not good, like not good mentally, not good health-wise. I picked up a lot of really, I think, negative habits when I was in those positions, because I was just so stressed and working all the time. So when I moved away from that, it sort of like started me on this new trajectory. Like mentally, I felt better. Emotionally, I felt better. I wasn't like bummed out or tired all of the time, but I was still physically drained because I was obese. I was carrying too much weight. My back hurt. I had headaches. I had skin issues. My hair felt like it was getting thin, like all the things. But I'll tell you, and Elana, you're going to think this is crazy, but if you were to ask me, like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back?
Yes.
It was my earlobe. It sounds insane, but I'm wearing these beautiful earrings and I love these earrings, but I had gained so much weight and my face was so puffy that my earlobe started to curl. And when I wore earrings, they looked weird. And I was like, okay, like enough is enough. Like this is out of control. And honestly, I had gone to a couple of different healthcare practitioners asking for help. But maybe I wasn't as verbal and as loud as I needed to be.
Right.
But I was not getting the help I needed. And I actually switched practitioners 3 different times until I found this wonderful, amazing nurse practitioner who said, no, I totally get what you're going through. Let's figure out how we can help you. Right. Wow. So I finally had a partner who listened to me and kind of almost like took away that, we say like the blame and the shame, but that's really what it felt like. like my earlobes were curly and nobody cared but me, and now
Right.
somebody cared and I was able to get the guidance I needed to move forward.
I love that so much because we really need to be an advocate. And so if you don't love yourself enough to care, so I was going to put out a program called Care. You have to care enough to love. Anybody can love, but if you don't care to show up for yourself, and I love that you cared enough. I loved that you fought for yourself and knew, because I feel like this healthcare system is pretty crappy sometimes. And when you get these doctors and you're saying, look, like I'm coming to you for that help, and you feel not heard, you feel not, but once you find, I love when you could see you light up that connection and someone to support you means so much. So I'm so grateful for you that you are able to share their story and tell you got to fight for what your life.
I mean, I'll tell you too, I mean, it was super frustrating. I'll tell you, I went to a nurse practitioner and she wanted to put me on a medication that I knew had cardiac implications. Like I worked in healthcare. I know side effects.
You know your stuff.
I know it. And if I don't know it, I know how to look it up very quickly.
Correct.
So there were some significant cardiac and blood pressure risks associated with this drug. I was scared. I went to my primary care physician and I told him about it. He literally rolled his eyes and said, well, if you want to have a heart attack, I guess go for it. And he walked out of the room. And that's the last time I've ever seen that man. I said, no way will I ever go back to him. Right. Because that's not supportive. That's not helpful. Yeah. But then I was so scared because I don't want to have a heart attack. I think it was like another year before I talked to anybody else. And that shouldn't have ever happened, but that's what happened.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where it's hard, is like these bedside manners, the way that they show up and like, your stuff, like, or certainly, when I work with people or do, and someone tells you like, I know that's not the truth. You know what I mean? When you know that there is more to it, that, fighting for that. And I know we're all fighting, and Ellen had made a few comments that it's frustrating and doing, because I know we're all going through stuff, and, proud of Ellen too. You show up for yourself and fight, because if we don't, then no one else will. And then you will get, left behind kind of. And that's okay either, is for someone to be scared. And I love how, maybe this will show more people to stand up for yourself. It's okay. Sometimes we feel alone, but if we don't use our voice, then no one's going to read our mind.
Right. And you end up in the hospital with pills you don't want to take. It's terrifying. And I think I think early on when I did say that I was taking the injections, the GLP, I had a couple of comments about, oh, what will your kids think? I'm like, well, one, they're children. I don't need to review my medication list with my children, right? Like that's not something that I'm obligated to do. But I did tell them, eventually when I was comfortable, I did tell them what I was doing, because I want them to know that it's okay to get help and it's okay to get medical treatment when you need medical treatment. And I still have people who will say, well, you shouldn't, there's so many skeptics, you shouldn't be taking that. It's like, I go to the doctor and I get examined and checkups literally every 1 to 2 months, right? This is very closely medically monitored. You're not a medical professional. Like you have no right to tell me that, right? Like I know I'm doing the right thing for myself.
I think people are so afraid and feel like they need to project. And so many times they're projecting, they're scared because they want to be able to show up for you. They want to ask, but I think they're so scared of even not knowing. So if someone's going through this, what are some things that like to stand up or show up for themselves? Maybe you could give a little nugget or two of what to do when you feel alone or your doctor's doing this. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think this applies not just for weight loss medications, but any element of healthcare. You have to be your own advocate. You have to stand up for yourself, and you have to have that baseline knowledge to know when something's not quite right. I will say too it was Father's Day of 2024. My husband, who I mentioned was a cancer survivor, he had a heart attack. Very serious heart attack, was rushed into the cath lab, all the things, was in the ICU for several days. When he was discharged and I went to pick up all the new medicines, the pharmacy actually dispensed the wrong drug. Instead of giving me for him his blood thinner that the cardiologist referred to as, you have to take this, don't ever skip it, you have to take it, they dispensed a baby aspirin. So terrifying. But had I not, in that moment or in that couple of days in the hospital period, done some research and learned what was going on, I would have maybe not even caught that, right? I wouldn't have caught that they dispensed the wrong drug. And I may not have been angry and enough to go back to the pharmacy. And I looked at the pharmacist in the eye and said, you dispensed the wrong medication. You have to fix this. And they were mortified, right? They felt so terrible.
Yeah.
Because that was terrible. But you have to have enough baseline education to catch those things for yourself and then have the strength to stand up for yourself.
100%. Ellen says, it's hard to say things that make people understand how much pain I'm in. I can't even get myself to make appointments. Do you have any maybe advice? And then my parents, Deb Robb, popped on. Hello, Deb Robb. Wow, all these comments are excellent. Let me say the support of family and I don't know what MT is, but also my dad had a heart attack, unfortunately, as well. So I get it, beyond the blood thinners and showing up and, how these doctors, to them, they could do stuff in the sleep, but they need to really not do something like that. They need to show up, the way it is. And I think it is hard because people stop making those appointments, stop doing because of what's going on. And then things end up getting a little bit worse.
Yeah. And I think there's so many resources, thankfully. Of course, it depends on where you live and where you seek your healthcare, but there are so many amazing nurses and care coordinators and, nurse practitioners and dietitians and all the people who are showing up to help you. If you encounter a person like the physician I encountered, if you encounter someone who's doesn't seem to be acting in your best interest, there are so many other people out there. So just keep advocating and keep asking. And if you are in a situation, I think, where it's hard to physically go into the office, ask about telehealth, make a phone call, talk to someone. And if you don't reach someone who is listening, keep trying, because there are so many people out there who are awesome and want to help. You just have to find the right people to move in the right direction.
I love that so much. And what I love is that you have so many beautiful resources to share with people. And maybe we can kind of talk about a little bit more, with your podcast and like helping with your voice. What made you kind of start these? And I loved being on your FU podcast. And maybe you could tell a little bit more about that, because I think it's really incredible resource. It's such a beautiful thing and more people need to know about it. So let's talk.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I just did, kind of a Spotify sends out these wrapped and I get this wrapped and it tells you your stats. But it got me thinking, like, what have I really done in the past year? And I counted it up and I produced like 95 different episodes. I mean, I joke with my husband, I'm like, you could listen to me for days and I won't even have to be in the room, right? Like, it's just so much. But it's been fun. And every single episode, every piece of information is so impactful in a different way. So with FU Cancer, we are a digital health tech startup. We're based in Los Angeles, California, and we are working to build a digital health tool for individuals experiencing cancer. So they've been diagnosed, they're going through treatment, as well as their caregivers. So it's a lot of support through community resources and educational modules, live stream events, all the things. But we launched the podcast in tandem with the platform because not everybody is in a position where they want to join that platform, right? Maybe some people don't need that intense education and support, but they still want to be connected in some way. So the FU Cancer podcast, and I'll tell you, all my podcasts are conversational, like this. This is what I love.
That's what I love about ours. That's what makes it so special.
Yeah. So with FU Cancer podcast, we bring on individuals such as yourself. We've had cancer survivors. We have clinicians caring for cancer patients. We actually had an amazing caregiver who told her story of what it was like to be cancer adjacent, right? And that's how I kind of came to this too. Yeah. But it's just people telling their stories. And I just hope that somebody out there will listen and they'll get the support they need, or they'll get that encouragement to take the next step to do something. So the FU Cancer podcast is really intended for anybody. The other podcast I do is targeted at healthcare professionals in a niche area. So we call it dietitians and nutrition support. So nutrition support means if somebody needs artificial nutrition through an IV or through a feeding tube, it's a very specialized section of medicine. So in that podcast, I talk with healthcare clinicians, people who are doing research, they're publishing, they're doing all these amazing things across the world. We just have a conversation. I almost feel like if you were in a restaurant sitting by yourself and there was somebody at the table next to you having this incredible conversation, you're kind of listening, like, what are they talking about? That's what we do. That's what we're talking about. And we do that a couple times a month, which is really awesome.
Awesome. So Deb Robb says, my best friend, Debbie, that's my mom, kept me going and still today. We are blessed that the doctors we have today are actually excellent. I'm on my way to my cardiologist this morning. That's right. Go Dad. You're also right. I'm an advocate for myself and for me. I always say you get more with honey than vinegar. I'm so blessed that I'm in excellent health too. Too much to say on this post. Keep these great people on your podcast. Go. Love you. So my dad is such an inspiration. I feel like you two would totally get along. I love that and that energy, but he always has been so positive. It's the way he shows up, and it's your attitude and energy. Sometimes he was never a poor me and why is this happening? I mean, we call him a cat. He's had like so many lives. He's had heart attack. He's had prostate cancer. He had has a plate in his eye. So the guy, he said, my dad always says it's not my time. And so with that, it isn't. And showing up for himself is proving, he's on his way to the cardiologist, for his checkup because he's advocating and doing. And with that, having someone care and maybe talking a little bit about being a caretaker and someone's, partner. How do you show up that way as well? Because I know sometimes we want to do so much, but you want to be the caretaker in that. Do you have any kind of advice or for someone kind of going through that as well?
Yeah. I mean, being a caretaker to someone you love is hard. It is really hard. And I think you go through a lot of internal struggles where, because I don't know, like you're not the one who was diagnosed, right? Like I've never had a heart attack. I've never been diagnosed with cancer, but I feel like I have because I've lived it too. And that's really hard. And then also it's almost like you feel empowered, like what we're talking about today, but you also feel helpless because I can't make the cancer go away.
Yes.
I can make him go to the appointments. I can make him get his CAT scan.
Right.
And I remember we were engaged. So he went through his treatment while we were engaged to be married. I was in my 20s. I was in grad school. It was like, looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I ever did this, but we did all the things. Right? But I remember we had a conversation and I said, and this is horrible, but it's like, if you die, like I can live with that. I can't live with you giving up. Right? So you have to set those guardrails of what are you willing to do? And then how are you going to support that person? And he said, okay, I won't give up. And here it's been, 25 years later, he's not given up. And I love him for that.
Yes, that's so, give him a little heart for that.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful thing because, with that and also, caretaker. So maybe we could kind of talk a little bit more of, being on the other side, you showed up this way and now you're on this, different sides of, the wall of what showing up for the caretaker. But then what really pushed you, like, what was the final to like, I really want to help them? Like, what was the final thing of it hasn't been out there? Why did you want to make a difference?
Yeah. I think probably one of the best things I've done is I've surrounded myself with really amazing people. I will tell you, I was thinking about this the other day too. Like 25 years ago, I would go to these nutrition conferences. I would get lucky and my employer would pay for me to go to this amazing conference.
Yeah.
And I would go by myself and I would know nobody. And I would go sit through these sessions and I would hear people talk of saying like, oh, you volunteer and you make your best friends, right? You meet all these amazing people at conferences. And I was totally by myself and thought that's never going to happen. Like, this is crazy. People don't really do that. Like, this is nuts. But now it's been so long, I would say almost all of my good friends I've met through professional networks, through volunteering and projects and just having those mutual interests and inspirations. And that's actually how Shelby, the co-founder of FU Cancer, or the founder of FU Cancer, that's how we kind of hooked up, was we volunteered professionally. And 2 years ago at a conference, she approached me and said, hey, I've got this idea for a new company. I want to talk to you about it. And then here we are, right? Then I joined her and it was amazing. And we're doing all these cool things now. But I think just surrounding myself with people who are super motivated and share that passion for helping others has really been the catalyst for everything that I've been involved in.
Which I love. And I think that's like with the title of our show, Empowered to Thrive. Being empowered to thrive, is there someone that really empowered you that you want to give a shout out to? Or is there someone that was a mentor that really, was there when you really needed someone or someone to look up to?
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know. I've had so many amazing people. One person that comes to mind, her name is Mary Russell. She is a retired dietitian. But I always looked up to her. You know, several years ago, she served as the president of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And I remember looking up at her on the stage and taking a picture saying, I can't believe I know this woman. I only know her. Like I can text her if I want to. Like
Right.
who does that? Right. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's really one example. I think family wise, I mean, I have my mom, my dad, my aunt, they're all amazing people. My grandmother lived to be in her 80s, and my great grandmother lived to be 105. So she was from Italy, and toward the end, we think she forgot that we couldn't speak Italian. So she would flip into Italian. And as a little kid, I never knew what she was saying, but I always knew what she meant because she was so passionate when she said it. Right? It didn't matter that you couldn't speak the language. You knew what she was telling. You knew what Nana was telling you. Right. So I think about that and like how she showed up every day for 105 years. And then how am I showing up every day?
I love that so much. That's a really big thing for me because I call myself sometimes like an intergenerational ambassador, and I love elders. Like my grandma is 99, but the other last till 9. And so the way that they showed up too. So I love that you had that connection and got to have that, because I think our ancestors teach us, but then we get to be the voices that they didn't have, and, you know, to continue their traditions on that as well.
Well, and I think that leads to, I think caregiving is just, it's a natural part of life from my perspective. My great grandmother lived with my grandmother. My grandmother lived with us for a short period of time before she passed, but she lived with us. And I've always told my husband, my mom's going to live with us one day. You know, get used to it. It's going to happen. So we had a joke of like, where's mom going to go? We tease her that we have a camper. We tease her that's her mother-in-law's quarters, but she's not cool. She's not cool with. So we'll come up with a better plan.
I love that. I joke with my sister because we joke, and I always say, I'm super close with my family too. I said, you get mom, I'll get dad, and then we can, you know, take it on together.
And I tease my kids too. I say, mommy's going to live on your couch one day, so it better be a nice couch. And they almost see it as a competition now of where's mom going to live, which is great for me because I've got somewhere to live.
Right? I love that. I mean, maybe could you tell a little bit, we're about to wrap up in a little bit, some other little final nuggets, anything else that you would love to share, or maybe somebody, you know, with kids and doing is, you know, maybe what would you tell your little girl self now that, you know, maybe some advice of some like younger kids or people wanting to just kind of explore?
Yeah. I mean, I think just, you know, understanding your values and kind of, I call it my guideposts, like understanding your guideposts. So in my life, you know, whenever I'm positioned with or presented with a new opportunity, my goalposts are my family, my work, and my volunteerism, right? So if I have a new opportunity present itself, where does it align and how does it impact those 3 pillars, right? So that really gives me a nice guide for making decisions and moving forward. And I try to push that onto my kids too, where we want to help people, we want to show up every day, and we want to do the best work we can, but we also want to set our own guardrails so we're making the right decisions for ourselves and for our family. And I think that's important for everyone. I don't know that I had that great of a perspective 20, 30 years ago, but I feel like I do now, and I make much better decisions because of it.
I love that. And I love that we can talk about it because that's all we knew, you know, growing up. And then also sometimes with our parents, and I wish this or wish that, but that's all they knew. So like, I think, you know, now being older, having that grace, like, why would you do that to me? Or but they would do it to anybody. It's having that grace. That's all they knew. And and that's all their ancestors knew. So you can show up and, you know, be that voice of what I said before and help, you know, get that message out.
So, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on. This was amazing. I would love to have you on again. It was just, everybody, please reach out to her. Here's her email, and anything else you guys can email me with. But thank you for being here, and just can't wait for you to be on again.
Yeah, thanks, Elana. It's been fun. Thank you so much for having me.
And you can reach me at ef11ca@gmail.com or my website, excuse me, my voice, yourhealthvibes.com. Also, I wanted to wish everybody a very happy holiday, thinking of you, loving on you, and sending you a really, really big hug. Thanks for now.